to the Relentless CEO Podcast with Adam Kifer. Follow your path to success alongside icons and industry leaders in martial arts, fitness, and more. This is the Relentless CEO Podcast.
All right, so let's start just by having you guys I know you guys are very well known in the industry, but I know there's people watching this that probably haven't heard of you before. So just tell us a little bit about you guys, how long you guys have been in business, how many locations you have, all of that.
Yeah, you want to go first?
Yeah, that's good. Well, we're Alan and Naomy De Peña. We're located in New Jersey. And I am not a martial artist. I actually did not grow up doing martial arts. But
it's not true. She got a green
I
belt.
am now.
She did get a green belt.
But Alan did grow up doing martial arts. We come from very different backgrounds. And for him, martial arts was about helping him learn how not to fight, right? For me, I grew up with missionary parents that was all about love and serving people. And we found ourselves as parents in a situation where my son was being bullied, right? So we understood from that space that we had an opportunity to either be a part of the problem or the solution. And I think, Adam, what was really powerful for me as a mother was the fact that for a whole month, my son didn't mention anything about what was going on. He was only 5 years old in kindergarten. So he didn't mention anything because he was already training martial arts and he felt that he couldn't say anything because he tried to defend himself. So we decided, I want to take kids like my son and say, it's okay to defend yourself. We want to empower you, but I also want that other 5-year-old who thought it was okay to bully another 5-year-old. What's their family like? And for them to think that this is how you solve problems, putting somebody's head in the toilet at 5 years old. So that was the catalyst for all of this. And we started it from that place of maybe this could be kind of like a hobby kind of thing. We'll do it on the side. I'm a special needs teacher. Alan is an engineer by trade. So we have jobs we love.
We started this half joking around.
People maybe we'll do it. And I was like, maybe we'll do it with an after school program because, I'm a teacher. And then fast forward to 8 years later, now we have 5 locations, 40 staff members. We're serving more than 700 students. But mostly we are fulfilled. We love our life. We love everything that we do. Mondays are awesome. And that's what it's about. So that's us.
Yeah, let's just add to that. We came from, different backgrounds from the martial arts, although I was lifelong martial arts doing it from when I was a kid. I did take a break when I was older, built my career. I was an engineer in New York. So a lot of business, corporate experience, building different IT companies, worked with different companies. Her with her teacher background, both of us worked a lot through ministry and through church. So working with youth, doing youth camps, things like that, and working with parents. So I think that contributed a lot. All those things kind of created a little bit of a perfect storm.
100%.
So when we went to open a martial arts school, those things helped us a lot.
I think it's such a superpower that you guys came from outside and then came in. Because I think you guys probably came with a lot more open-mindedness than a lot of people that start within the industry. And we already know that you guys have great creativity as well. So I'm sure you guys were able to take a lot of the things that you had learned in your other careers to bring them in here. And that leads me to, let's talk about your guys' school and how it's being run. What are some things that you guys brought from outside the industry to run your schools that maybe people in the industry would look at and be like, oh, that's different, or that's weird, or I haven't seen that before?
Yeah, so I think one thing that I've always thought about, especially going to the multi-school location, is that we run our multi-school more like a corporation. So one headquarter office. So all of our schools have one phone number, one website, one CRM, one general manager, an admin team that works with all of them. So that kind of model, it makes it also easier for us when we go to start a new location, because it's you're starting a new location with turbos on, right? So it's you do this. For example, we have office hours and we have people that answer the phone 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. If you're starting off a new location, you're not going to pay someone to do that. When we start a new location, you're able to do that. So you're able to leverage that potential. And that's something that just came innate to me as part of the corporate world.
Being in IT, right? Because for you, it was you can never have downtime. There was no weekend. Everything kind of, you had to support people at all times. So although it sounded crazy to me in the beginning, I do want to clarify, it's not the same person picking up the phone 7 days a week, 12 hours a day.
Sure.
We have different shifts and different team members. But I think that on my end, the first thing that came to mind, I thought was interesting. It's the way that a lot of times we work in the martial arts industry, where like kids are very young and they're working and they're expected to do certain things. So coming from the government side and from the teaching side, I approached the way we developed our teenagers with a maybe more adherence to like work policies and things like that were a little bit more like, you can't do that. But at the same time, understanding from that child development aspect of this is how we develop people, and this is what you can trust people to do at a certain time, and the systems that catapulted our summer camps and all of just the way that I ran things, like the restrictions that we had, but at the same time making sure that everyone's background checked. Like there's no like, hey, come and help us on the mat. Like all of that, I thought it was just customary. I thought everybody did it. And then I realized like, oh wow, people.
Well, one thing I always say that when we went to open, Naomi asked me, what do martial artists know about child development? She was coming as a special needs teacher, coming from that approach. And I'm like, well, really nothing. I mean, and then my answer was, well, not anything more than like your swim teacher knows, or your gymnastics teacher, or dance teacher, right? Which is really nothing for the time. So that's where we took a step back and we said, okay, we really want to focus in on that when we go to develop instructors on teaching them about child development and different approaches to modifying behavior and things like that. So she brought a lot of that to the table, from which we just thought is something that should be included in every martial arts.
Absolutely.
We didn't know any different.
But it was interesting is that there were certain things that we just thought we invented. We were like, oh my God, this is such a great idea. So,
for example, we invented after school program.
That's a good idea. Because as a mother, I was running around, I was working, I'm taking my kids to martial arts classes, and then we're like doing homework in the car. And I'm like, why doesn't somebody just pick up my kid? I'll pay someone to do this. And we looked around and that didn't exist here in our area, at least. So that's what we're like, oh, maybe that's the way to do it. So, we did that, and we had a lot of success with the after school.
We had good feedback too. Everybody in the neighborhood was like, why isn't any other martial arts doing this? Like, we know. We thought we invented sliced bread. And then, again, we weren't involved in the industry at all. And then we started meeting people in the industry. We find out there's huge groups, around doing after school program. We're like, oh, okay, this is cool. So when we got involved with that, we started connecting with people in the industry. We already ran a very successful after school and summer camp, because that was part of when we opened it. It wasn't like we transitioned to then add on after school summer camp. We opened with after school with the summer camp. As a matter of fact, we've since then transitioned to not doing after school program. Remove that part. So it's a little bit different from most people in the industry, because again, her teaching background, it just came innate with what we wanted to provide.
Yeah, because it came about filling a need. Like understand, okay, what do people need? And that's why when people look at our career, they're like, well, you guys you do this, you do that, you do so many things. It's because it's like, okay, where is there a need? And do I have the skills, and do I have the problem solving skills to fix that? So that's what we've just done. We've just allowed life to lead us in that direction of problem solving.
Well, you guys are doing awesome with it. Selfish question that I'm just interested in. What made you guys decide to move away from after school?
That is a great question. So it's we love the impact that we're able to have with the after school program. But as our martial arts program grew, it started kind of overlapping to the point where you had to pick and choose certain things. Like, are you going to go to class here or after school program? And at the end of the day, the type of impact that we wanted to have was more meaningful through the martial arts with what we wanted to create. So we felt that our impact was greater there. And two, the return on investment, I always look at hourly, your return on investment per hour. It's like 10x martial arts is 10x of what it is on after school program from when we ran the numbers.
Yeah. And also something to note is we are licensed by the state of New Jersey. If anybody's listening from New Jersey is very, very strict with, you have to get a child care license, like a daycare license. So you cannot run martial arts classes while you're having after school, right? So things could not And that just really created for us more problems and solutions. And we were all about serving the community in a way that we were solving problems. So we believe that there is a place for it. It's powerful.
Sure.
But when you have to adhere by so many restrictions that the Department of Education provides for you and not being able to run a martial arts program, which is what we wanted to do in the beginning, then it was counterproductive to what we wanted to do.
Sorry, I'm same line of thinking with you guys on after school. I was like, I just want go all in on martial arts. I like the return on that better. And just like you said, like the impact as well. I just feel it's like
help a lot for any school starting, right? Like
sure.
Sometimes you just need to get some revenue coming in the door. And if you could do that while you build your martial arts program, I think it's a good tool to use. But then you have to decide if that's something that you want to do or run it as a completely separate business.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to add. I do think it's a completely different, it's
Agreed.
of skills, is a different business. And people end up overworked and overwhelmed when they are working with kids and picking up kids. And then now you have to show up at 5 o'clock with all the energy to provide a quality class. Sometimes it doesn't support that. So I do think that there's a place for it. And, in business, we've learned that you do what works for you when it works for you in different seasons. So yeah, that's kind of why we moved away from it.
I love it. And then I also want to talk about, because I love that you're like, yeah, we thought all this HR stuff was already part of like how a martial arts school is run. And I'm interested, do you guys have kids helping or teaching classes at all? And how does your instructor development program work?
Good question. So we start hiring at about 16. So that when if they're actually paid, so after 16, then they can join as a actual paid assistant
at a limited time of hours based on state labor laws.
Right.
Yes.
So we do have for that perspective, and we also have of course adults that teach. We have a developed like leadership program, which has a kind of like similar to a belt ranking system. So it has like 9 different levels, and it's broken down into which part of class they're leading. So like they first start off just kind of like greeting people and being a helper. And then it goes up to you being able to lead like a warm up, and then you being able to lead maybe, I don't know the order. I don't do it enough, unfortunately. Have enough. We have our staff lead it, but if it's a mat chat and then there's another part, okay, you're going to practice on doing a drill or doing stretching exercises. Now another level is for you to run a game. And so you kind of go collecting almost like points. And once you master all these levels, then you're basically, the idea is that you can run a full class by yourself. And then they level, and then they, of course, graduate to an assistant instructor and to a paid position by them.
And the kids in that class, are they actually doing these things like in a live class, or is it just role playing you're doing?
So they start off with role playing, on weekends classes that we'll have, and then to eventually doing it. In order for them to rank up to the next level, they need to be able to do that drill in a live class.
Got it.
So several times in a live class where they'll get evaluated. Of course, once we feel they're ready to run, for example, a warm up, they've done this in role play a bunch of times. They feel very comfortable. Okay, great. Do it now in a live class. We'll give them feedback. Do it again, and they'll periodically keep doing that. Once we feel they truly have mastered the warm up and they have that part down pat, great. Now you go to the next level and you start working on another portion of class.
Love that.
And for them being just basic role models in a class that's below their level. Let's say they're 7 years old, they're just coming to the 3 and 4-year-old class and standing in line. So it doesn't have to be super daunting in the beginning. It's just be the line leader and show everybody how to do it. But I think one thing that's powerful that we do is planting the seed from day one. I see a leader. The kid comes in, it's like, I can't wait to hire you. There's a kid I've been telling him since he was 3 years old, I can't wait to hire you. And I mean that. Yeah. And I think that's like the side effect of owning a business that I've loved the most. And it's the ability to create career paths for people and to be able to say now in this period of 8 years that a lot of our head instructors are students that began with us as white belts. That just fills me with so much joy. So I think that's where it starts. It starts from day one and just planting that seed. I see a leader, I see a black belt, and I can't wait to hire you. And the kids they can't wait. They can't wait.
Yeah, I honestly think that's the most important part of building your team is the seed planting process. Because so many school owners I talk to, they're like, man, I just didn't know where to find instructors. I don't know where to find this. And even with like our non-martial arts school businesses, we were talking over the weekend, Kelly and I, and it's like the number of people we got to move to Arizona to come work for one of the companies and like leave a good position or leave their own martial arts school to come here. It all started with like me seeing them somewhere at an event or something. I'm like, I'm gonna hire you someday, just so you know. So like, get ready to move. And like, it's sort of joking at first, but then after a while, like those conversations turn. And it's like, well, what would that look like if I did move out there? So I think that's so important. I love that you guys are doing it like pretty much right from the start as well. It should be like that
But
everywhere.
it's also really cool in Arizona, I have to say. I mean, kind of
The
Yes.
time in October though. So we might take,
I
have
think
to go
I went
in
in the summer.
August.
I went into the summer. You know, I thought it was going to be a lot hotter, like a lot more uncomfortable. I'm not great with the heat. So, you know, Florida is just like everybody's kind of like relaxing and just like hanging out, having dinner outside. And I'm here like with a handkerchief, like drying myself.
Same.
With the drier weather in Arizona, it's actually like pleasant. Like I don't mind the heat, just as long as so I'm like maybe getting people to move. You know, you get people to kind of come visit Arizona. They're like, oh, this desert is not as bad as I thought it was.
See, when I got sold coming out, they brought me out in December, and I was like, oh, it's beautiful here. If they would have brought me out in like July or August, I would have been like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, because you came down from like Chicago, was it?
So originally from Chicago, I was in New York when they brought me down here, but it was we got so lucky because New York got so locked down during COVID, and I'm sure you guys knew that more than anyone, that we came out here like the month before, and it was just like my friends in New York compared to Arizona, they're like, we're in lockdown still, and I'm like, we opened like 3 months ago, so we're fortunate in that aspect.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, but I mean, it was all about the mindset during COVID for sure, because I think that COVID really determined who we were as leaders.
Mhm.
It created, I mean, it really pushed us to be creative. It really pushed us to become really leaders in the community. And one thing that I kept telling the team is you cannot lead from a place of fear. You cannot. And children and the parents are looking to us for ways to provide. And kudos to Alan and his IT background, right? Like all the things we've done before, because before Zoom was even a thing, like he had already set it up and we did not skip a beat. We just went straight into classes, which was powerful. And we also have a service dog who works with us at the schools. And then we started doing house visits with Lad. Well, we started first with doing read alouds with Lad every night before going to bed. We were reading on Zoom and on Facebook, and the parents were loving that because it just really helped calm the anxiety for the children. And then Alan comes up, with his awesome idea. He's like, we're going to go do house visits. And we put Lad on a 50-foot leash. The only thing we knew is that dogs couldn't transmit the virus. That we knew.
Yeah.
So little goodie bags, and he'll hold them in his mouth and we'll ring the doorbell. And it just really made the children's day, and the parents were so happy, and it just really started spreading around, and people started asking, can you come here? Can you come visit? And we did it we started with our students, but then it just spread around town. We're just like driving around because it wasn't about retention. At that moment, it was about being there for the children. We didn't know what was going to happen. Like it didn't matter what was happening, whether the kids are going to sign up or not. It was about being there for them. And then we had the news reach out. They asked us, would you guys allow us to follow Lad as he's doing these visits? So we said yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's really what's about. I think, really understanding where the needs are and stepping in. And I'll give you a little premiere here that we're actually publishing a book about that story. So we wrote a
that's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. We wrote a children's book about Lad's story during the pandemic and the work that he did with the children. So it's a social emotional book, and God willing, it's going to be coming out January 2025. So we're excited for that.
And despite being
awesome,
because of all that, we didn't, skip a beat. Like our schools kept growing even in 2020. So if you look at our growth path through all the years, we never took a dip for 2020. And we're able to continue growing. Actually, tail end of 2020, we opened our second location. First quarter of 2021, we opened our third location. So, and it was because we continued seeing how we can continue providing a service, right? So, and I think the community saw that and backed us up.
I love that. And I think like not just COVID times, but I think that's a big element that a lot of schools are missing out on is the community presence. To me, I used to be the guy that just relied on digital marketing. And I was like, we don't need to go work with schools. We don't need to do this. But that was in the time when you could throw up an ad and just like, you get like 25 trials in a weekend and you're like, oh, this is easy. But I think there's so much to that, just being out and people interacting with you, seeing you do good in the community. And I think it helps, especially for you guys, because just knowing you guys, I know how much of a passion you have for helping people. Like you guys just want to help make an impact in humans. And I think that drives all of your actions and just makes it such a more authentic experience when you interact with the community. But I guess question for you guys is, how do you find is the best way to really inject that into your culture at your school while still having a good focus on the business and the data and the numbers? Because I see a lot of people struggle where they're good at one or they're good at the other, and marrying those things becomes really difficult for them.
Definitely, I think one thing that I've always focused on is that the business exists to provide a service.
Yep.
And not to make money. Money is obviously the oxygen of the business and is going to need it to continue flowing, to continue working, to continue providing that service. But really the goal is to provide a service. And I think sometimes that's easier said than done. People say that, but don't really mean it. When you truly mean it and you're truly trying to provide the service, I think it makes a big difference. Now, you can also find yourself in trouble. We all, as martial artists, we know a lot of people who is like, yeah, come take free classes, take extra hours, and it doesn't matter because we just want to try to provide this service. So you have to balance that out. And I think one way that we always looked at it from the beginning is on the investment per hour of what you're doing. So whatever is, like for example, one area that I see a lot of schools end up reducing like their arm is that they'll have a student and then they want to charge something extra for an upgrade program. But with the upgrade program, they get like coming on the weekends and it's like 10 hours of training and doing all this. So now you like blow your whole payroll budget and everything going out the window. And they're like, no, but I'm making more money per student. It doesn't matter, right? Like you have to look at how much it's actually making per hour and make sure that that makes sense. The thing we've been always very careful with is not overworking our staff. So we don't want you working 6 days, 7 days a week. And, we're very careful with, we send people home all the time. Like you have to go home, go take a break. So balancing that, I think is very important, but looking at your numbers, making sure that you're keeping it profitable every hour that you're in business, barring special events. We do have, because of our culture that we've built of helping people out, we do have people volunteer and say, hey, we're gonna go do this event, but this is gonna be a love project. This is gonna be just volunteer that we're doing this. And if you want to do it, you can. If you don't want to do it, that's okay. That's not part of that paid application, right? And then that's fine. But I'm also careful with that because I have had team members go like, oh, I'm gonna start a demo team. But don't worry, we're going to do it for free and for their love. And I appreciate that their willingness to do that. But I'm like, no, you can't do that because it's sustainable, right? So you also have to look at, is this going to be sustainable? You're going to do this for how long? 6 months, and then you get tired of it and everybody's used to it, not paying. So you have to be careful with those things. So if you are going to do something like that, make sure it's like one-off type investment.
Agreed.
Doing not anything that you're producing that it's going to be a system, part of your system. Has to be profitable. Otherwise, it's not going to be sustainable. And eventually you're not going to be able to continue providing the service.
Yeah. I think it's powerful that Alan has always shared the numbers with the team.
Yes.
Everybody understands, like we don't hold back from that. Every Friday we have our team meetings and they're looking at how many people came in, how many leads, how many showed up, how many cancellations, how many people are on hold. And the holds are a big deal for us because if you're on hold, you're so close to canceling. So that's really important for us that they understand that. And I think they've made that connection that if we want to serve them, we want to make sure they come. And if they come, you have to find a way to be able to provide for you to arrive here. So that means money. So connecting the service to the financial part of it makes it easier for them to be like, yeah, of course you are going to pay me for that. Of course, because this is great. And I'm doing you a disservice if you don't get to be a part of the Zentai family. That's important to us. So I think coming from that perspective, like we love them, we are the best. We truly have empowered our team to understand that. And these are the reasons why. It's not just that it's a motto that we chant. These are the reasons why we believe that we're the best for for them, and we want them to be a part of the program. So when they see the numbers, it's easier for them to understand, like, we want to do these things. And now they push us. I mean, this location where we're in, they're asking to knock down these walls because they've maxed out, and they're like, really? So now they're fundraising, and the parents are chanting and like, wait, knock down the wall. So it's a powerful mindset shift that now they're pushing us, and I love it because they're not going to let us settle. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's great. I think every school owner should share their numbers with their team. I also think it just gets them more interested in the business side of things and how things operate. Like, one of the things that we added recently is we have an event P&L that our instructors have to fill out after they run an event, where it's showing like all the expenses of the event, because I want them to learn, like, hey, you have to pay attention to profit with these things. And also, you have a budget that you have to stay within. If we're on a parents' night out, for example, you can't order like every single like toy and thing under the sun because you want to make it an epic event. I get that, and I love it, but it's also, at the same time, it's a business. And then we actually do like a profit sharing thing with them. So the more they're paying attention to what the outcome is going to be, the more money they make on helping with the event. And it's almost teaching them to get ready to run their own business in a way by doing like these mini little one-off businesses in a way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because a lot of times people see, they're like, oh, I'm teaching on the mat. I don't know what the owner does, especially for us, because we are not in any school and we're in all the schools, right? So it's so important for us that they understand everything that happens behind the scenes. Otherwise, people are like, oh, I could do this. I could open my own school and I want to see you win. So if you're used to teaching a rocking class, but that doesn't mean that you know how to bring leads. That doesn't mean that you even know how to deal with the government and all the permits and all of that. So we make them part of all of this process for them to understand everything that's happening, even if it feels in the beginning like drinking for a fire hydrant. It's like, they pick up. Eventually they understand from the repetition, and they understand what's happening. And I say that because we're starting with them very young, right? We're starting with them at 14, 15, as they're helping and volunteering, understanding that part. And I think it helps us with the retention of the staff as well, because they understand everything that goes into it. I said, well, do I want to go and open my own school? Do I really want to forgo this support that I have? Is that really the best way? But because we support our instructors financially in the way that we do, they find that this is the best bet for them. It's like, okay, I get to do this. I get to take ownership of this school, but also have the support of the administrative team that's behind me, and in Master Allen and I as coaches. It really it's a win-win for them.
I love that. And I want to circle back because you guys, Alan, you mentioned a few times investment per hour. We track profit per hour for our classes, but I'm just interested in how you guys do it as well, because I want to see if I can learn. First of all, I want to learn something from you guys on it, but also I know that's sort of a rare concept for our industry to track things that way. So I think it would just help school owners to be a little bit more on point with paying attention to, hey, is this actually worth doing or not?
Yeah. So, I mean, nothing too sophisticated there, nothing too complex, just looking at, if you're running a class, how many students you have on the mat and what is their hourly rate, right? And dividing that up, if you're doing a 30-minute class or a 45-minute class or an hour class. So breaking that up. So if you have a student that is twice a week for 30 minutes, that's 1 hour, right? So you break that half hour and say, okay, I have 30 kids on the floor. You're making this much. This is how much is going into payroll from there. We do our payroll for martial arts to be 18%. Mm-hmm. So because we basically break everything, we build everything to we have a profit sharing model that we use.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's a payroll profit sharing model. So it's kind of a little bit unique in the industry. I haven't seen anyone else doing it, but we basically do profit sharing based on the profit made on payroll specifically. So we break it down that way. So we have 18% goes there. And that's how we run the numbers. So we have to look at if that class, if it provides that 18%.
Okay, that makes sense. And are you guys tracking, just curious, do you guys track revenue or like return per employee as well?
We do.
Okay, cool. Because I know that the first time I ever heard that was in another industry, and I was like, what? That's a thing? And I love that. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that's going to be foreign completely to everyone listening to this. In your opinion, why is that an important thing to track, and how do you guys go about tracking it?
Yeah, and so the concept of it's a gross per employee. So you just take your gross and you divide it by your full-time employees. Obviously, if you have part-time, you kind of factor in whatever hours. If they're working 20 hours, you'll give them half that way. It's something that we picked up from Cardone Ventures. Brendan Dawson talks about that a lot. So we picked it up from there and just looking to grow that. And you'll see it's just kind of like a quick bird's eye view of when you're overspending on payroll. And this is one of the ways that investors will often look at your business and see if it's actually profitable. That's
do you guys have a specific multiple you're looking to get per employee of like, hey, if they're making $5,000, we want this X multiple of revenue return?
So we haven't forecasted out what we want to do. We just started playing with it just a few months ago. So we're kind of trying to get a benchmark of where we are. So 150,000 per employee is usually like a good amount. And then being able to get that on the higher end, then better. But whatever you don't measure, you don't improve, right? So getting that baseline, I think, is first, and knowing that, so you can project out, and you can also see when are your better months or when are your not so good months, right? So I think that's going to give you a good perspective, especially when things come around that are very busy, like summer camp, right? And we basically double our staff. So then trying to look at, okay, how does that affect that? Does that revenue per employee go up or does it go down? And that, so those are interesting things to look at to help you make business decisions. But we just started playing with it a few months ago, like this year. So haven't forecasted out for years yet, but definitely something that we're doing.
Yeah, I love that you guys are tracking that. I feel like we should definitely share data on that. Because with the other industries, we sort of go by a 4x return is what we look for per employee. But on the martial arts side, I'm like, I have no idea what this is supposed to be. So we're just sort of tracking it right now and then trying to sort of figure that out in the process. So I would love to share data with you guys and see if you guys be up to that. So maybe we can dial down like what that should be. But I love that you're doing that. I also think it's so cool because you guys opened up your own like little like retreat center called the Zen Den. And I would love for you guys to talk about this because it's funny. I think, Alan, when you texted me that you just opened it, I was like, that's awesome. And I literally just got done looking at 40 acres of land. And I was like, maybe we're going to get this for like a relentless compounder, or something where people can just come, we can go on retreats and stuff. And then you beat us to it, but I would love to hear how it's going with it, why you guys wanted to go that route and sort of what you're using it for.
Yeah, well, I got tricked into doing it. So this was, first of all, a dream. Just a wild dream. And we had a shared note. We had called it the Zen Den. We would love to have a retreat center like this. And we probably started tracking this probably at least four or 5 years ago.
Because of our background in ministry, right? We knew the power of retreats, and especially living in an urban community, being able to bring those kids away from where they live and taking them to actually experience nature in an immersive experience. You can teach them so much in so little time. It's just a complete different experience. So we started like doing it a 1-day event at the schools, and then we're like, oh, let's rent a house, and then we're like, oh,
so we're like rent Airbnb, a huge Airbnb, and take the team. So we did that all the time.
For things from like personal development to like curriculum development, or even just like so anyway, we just started dreaming, and we're like, oh, wouldn't it be awesome? So every time we would rent a house and I loved something about it, I'll take a picture, I'll put it there. And because our school is Zentai, I called it the Zen Den. And it was just
a perfect name.
So then it was one of those nights when you can't sleep and then you just open Zillow, right? And you just start looking.
Well, don't let your wives do that,
It's like way worse than Home Shopping Network.
I tell you, when it was truly meant to be, is because I was looking for a home for my parents, right? My parents are aging, and I said, maybe they need like a house that's all one floor, right? They have those like stoop homes, like, from New York kind of thing. So I'm looking for a ranch. I put ranch 20 miles away from where I live. And then this house comes up, which is definitely not 20 miles away. So that's why I said it was meant to be. I see 18 acres, lavender farm. And then I start looking at the house. It has a cabin, and I start looking at the pictures, and I just sent it to him. And I'm like, should I wait for him to wake up? I'm like, I'm just going to send it. 3 o'clock in the morning. And I just said, holy Zenden. So I was like, holy, this is it. And I said, for my birthday, I just want to go see it.
First, you said you wanted to see it.
I said, Okay.
And then I was like, we're not going to see that. Like, I'm not buying like is 18 and a half acres in New Jersey. That's not going to happen. And then she pulled the birthday card and she said, well,
Yeah.
I have to buy it, but I just want to go to the open house, go see it for my birthday. So, I mean, she said it's for her birthday. How can I say that point, right?
Well, I mean, listen, you have to know what you don't know. So I didn't know what I didn't know. And that was the first step. I literally said, it's just research to understand. But I have to say, when we walked in, we opened the door,
Beautiful.
it was that was that moment. So right now I have this rule where whenever you come into the Zenday for the first time, you have to come in through the main door because you have to have that experience. That was that moment. We're like, oh my God. And kudos to Alan because the process was not easy in terms of buying farmland here in New Jersey. But I do want to encourage people, something that was really powerful. I always thought it had to be in a different state because, New Jersey and taxes are so expensive. But this is where God has us, and this is where we're rooted, and this is where the blessing was going to be. And we believe God for provision, and not just provision, but for open doors, because it was really like, okay, now we need this, now we need that. And it happened, and we were able to close on it. And we hosted our first Black Belt test there. We hosted our first team retreat, which we do once a year. And we just hosted one of our team members' wedding that Master Allen actually officiated.
That's awesome.
3 weeks ago.
It's a blessing for a lot of people. But so it has the main cabin, has a whole lavender farm, plenty of space to run. The driveway is like a quarter mile long, so you can imagine. And then it has a separate dorm room, so like an apartment where we have 15 beds, 5 queen size, 5 full size, 5 twin size, bathrooms, everything separated. Then it has like a big garage that we usually use for like eating for like large groups. Then we have a separate smaller apartment that's like a suite with like 2 different sleeping areas there. And then of course the main cabin. Then we have 2 barns, and this was a big factor for us to move into the space because a lot of places have a lot of land, but we were looking for a place that we could use for training. So it actually has 2 barns that are actually attached to each other. It's a little more than 10,000 square feet.
Oh,
and
wow.
Hey, a lot of the barns, they are just like dirt, right? Inside for like animals. This was like thick slab of concrete, the entire thing, so we can lay down mats. So now we have 2,000 square feet of beautiful zebra mats laid out, heavy bags. We have kettlebells, ropes. We put a rope climbing thing.
That's awesome.
Equipment. You can need shields, pads, everything, with the idea that anybody can go there or another school can go there, have dorm rooms, everybody can sleep, and have a good training facility. And it has another area where we have set up with like projectors and speakers, so you can have like conference style setups, and everything's kind of already in place for you. For people like us that were looking for a place, hey, we want to take our team for a team training, but kind of hard to bring a big truck full of mats with you and things like that. This is already all set up. You can do outdoor events, indoor events. We have a couple animals. We're starting our collection slow. We got the t-shirt that says farmers in training. So we have 2 goats and like a dozen chickens.
We do.
And a few cats running around. So it's pretty cool. We're learning the process and doing anything but having fun. But it's been a blessing for a lot of people already, and we're looking forward for 2025. A lot of people have already started booking with us to host their team there as well.
Yeah, and I think that's something that maybe in industry we are not aware of, right? Like leveraging the power of immersive events.
Mm-hmm.
And I know because through the mastermind, there's so many amazing experiences that we've been able to be exposed through with you. But I do believe that we have to take care of that. We have to take care of the team. It just builds people. It accelerates them. And when we host our retreats, I tell them, look, this is not mandatory. It's fundatory. It's like something fun that you want to be a part of, but that there are going to be so many things that happen that you're going to miss out, that you're not going to get the references, that you're going to accelerate your growth by being there. And
talk about every year we're going over all of our core values, our vision, our mission statement, the purpose of our history of Zentek, because we went through, as you can imagine, we had plenty of hurdles in the road and rocks and things that over difficult decisions, people that we had to fire for different reasons. And we tell this story every single year so that the team knows our culture and our value and go, look,
I love that
decision. I thought we were going to have to shut down the business, but I made this decision anyway because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I want them to know that, right? So we're able to do that in that immersive kind of experience through a retreat like that. So if anybody else wants to do one, we can share how we do our retreats.
Northeast.
Yeah.
So I was like next summit, right? We're next summit, come to the Zenden.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we got some cool. We got a go-kart that for a go-kart. Amazing fun. Amazing. My son drifts around everywhere, just tearing up everything. I mean, we've broken this thing. I think it's more time in the shop. I mean, the mechanic loves us. It's just like we break the clutch on this all the time. And I'm like, have at it, have fun. So it's a blast.
I love that. That's awesome. And yeah, going back to just doing retreats, it's literally how we fleshed out like 90% of the stuff for Move. Like we rented an Airbnb like you guys used to do, and we just had like a brainstorming weekend. It was like, there's no limits on anything. Think about the craziest stuff possible. Let's put it down. And if it's not a right now thing, we'll figure out how we can make it a future thing. Question for you guys just on the logistical side. When you guys do your retreats, is it for your whole staff or just staff over 18? How do you do that? And if you do it for under 18, is it like a waiver, permission slip, something like that you haven't signed just on the liability side?
Yeah, so we do for all of our paid staff. So yes,
Okay,
whenever
cool.
Our parents, we do have that liability signed release for them, and everybody that is a staff member gets the opportunity. Our head instructors to invite somebody that they see that has potential, who's part of their leadership group, who's not yet hired, to give them the opportunity to have this exposure. So that's
Cool.
pretty much how we run it. And we do have everybody drives. So we have a lot of adults, so they just everybody drives in their own,
Carpool.
and then
Okay.
they're about 2 hours away. And we do it completely at no cost to the team. This is our investment in them. We have a caterer who's amazing. And, but the team actually loves creating like meals together. So that's also a big part of it, just making, especially in the morning, breakfast, pancakes, things like that. So we make sure that logistic also includes the doing, where they're creating things together, setting up a table together, because it just really builds that team, the connections.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's so cool that you guys did that. And I think that's one of those things that a lot of people write on paper that they want to do something like that, but they never actually get there. Yeah, more stuff like that, I think, just helps the entire industry, because people hear that you guys are doing that and they're like, whoa, that's actually possible with a martial arts school. Like we can get to that level. So love that. I also absolutely adore what you guys are doing with your charity, Heart of Zentai. And the more you guys tell me about it, the more I think it's like one of the greatest things. And I love how you guys have made it in a way that it can be sort of customized for the schools that actually help donate to the charity. Tell us all about it, because I think it's such a cool initiative that you guys are starting.
I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the things that I think almost every martial artist that I speak to has a passion for helping people. I mean, it's kind of a big part of the culture of every martial artist, I think. And when you speak to a lot of people, they're, I want to do something like that. I always wanted to help out, and it really is a lot of work. There's a lot of contacts establishing in different countries and setting things up. So there's a lot that goes into it. So we wanted to do something that it wouldn't just be us, but that martial arts schools can partner in this and do it together. So that's where the Heart of Zentai was kind of birthed. We start off with one location right now. It's in the Dominican Republic. Our goal is to eventually serve 10,000 students, 20 different locations around the world. And what we do is we have, for example, a school. We have some schools that are partner with us, and they now promote. We create a custom website for them. Let's say Move Martial Arts. Move Martial Arts has its own charity website. All of your parents go, or your community, it doesn't have to be students, sponsor a child there. Sponsor a child is $10 every week, or you could do $10 every bi-week and do like a partial sponsorship. And all of those children wear a patch, a uniform with the Move Martial Arts patch on it, which makes it really cool, connecting it back to something that you're doing as a charity. So we take pictures of all these kids, we send it to the individuals, but also we take group pictures. So now you get to hang that up at your school and show, hey, check out these 20 kids that Move is sponsoring in the Dominican Republic to have free martial arts training. in addition to free martial arts training, they actually give them sandwiches and juices and stuff that we're working on as well, because these kids are coming from very poor areas or low resources. So we don't want them. We all know how hungry you can get after training. So we don't want them hungry. But the cool thing is that you're able to do this, partner. So in your community, you get to showcase what it is that you're doing and how you're giving back as your school without having to set up everything in the background. Also, we're doing planning on doing trips. So schools are going to already planning to bring their leadership team. So they take their instructors, make a trip, go over there, teach some classes, get translators for you if you need, right? Teach those classes, take pictures with the kids, experience that, or even better, take your leadership team, right? They definitely get waivers. Take your younger kids going there, because the exposure that you have, I don't think there's any kind of more transformational life process that you could have than going there and walking these dirt roads, seeing these children that are living in tents, right? That, have a river and that's where they get their water from next door, and experiencing that is completely life-changing, right? And going there, teaching them martial arts classes, then coming back, they come back super empowered with what they're doing. So that's part of that whole vision as well, not only for what we can do for the kids over there, but what can we do for the kids here by bringing them there and giving them that exposure. It's a huge part of what we're trying to do, and just kind of bring that all together. So super powerful. It's one of those things that came up very quickly. We were thinking about it for a long time, but it's kind of one of those things that when you start taking a step, things start to unfold very quickly. I say it's like you're taking a step out into like an abyss, and then you realize that God has already provided a platform for you to step on, but you only notice once you actually take that step. So we took that step. We found a
I love to tell this story. But one thing that he didn't mention is that we are teaching the children leadership classes, right? Both Al and I are certified John Maxwell speakers, and then we take that information to provide these children, not just the martial arts, because these are kids that can barely afford going to school. So our vision is that they grow up and they can also have access to careers. And one of the powerful things is that one of the parents says, "You guys are helping my son. I'm an English teacher. I want to teach them how to speak English." And then just to create people are giving back as well. Right, but to tell you the story of how this all came about, as I mentioned earlier, my parents are missionaries, and 40 years ago, they went to the Dominican Republic. And my parents founded an organization where they were providing children the opportunity to go to school, meals. And what they found is that the kids were only eating the meal that they were being provided at school. So they saw the need to provide more. So my dad went ahead and looked for a house that they can house these children that were more at risk from different homes. And as we were researching and looking in the community, I'm 7 years old. I'm in a motorcycle with my dad. We see the garbage dumpster. So don't envision whatever the dumpster will look like here. Like we're talking about a mountain of garbage.
Not an American dumpster.
No, just a garbage mountain. And my dad says, like, there's a house down there. So we go down the hill, we get there, and there's a family, 10 children. It's just a one room. The mom's digging through the garbage to try to cook something for their children. So he says, okay, these are the kids we got to bring into the house, which happened to be next to the home where I grew up. So fast forward to when the Heart of Zentai starts coming about, my parents are now kind of semi-retired. They spent some time in DR. And I said, Dad, I want you to do some research for me. Like, I don't know, I'm looking for an instructor. So these children that my dad first started with the program with have now graduated. They become lawyers, they become doctors. And when my dad asked one of the girls, she says, yeah, my brother's a martial arts instructor. He's already has been teaching and he's doing this for free. So when Alan talks about the platform has already been provided, God literally gives you the provision. The need is there to think that 30 years ago, when I was growing up with this boy that, was just part of the program, I could have never imagined we were going to be partnering today in serving the community in the way that we have, from someone's perspective that knows what it feels like to be seen, to be helped, that there are truly people who care and that strangers can care for you and can invest in you. So that has been such an incredible, powerful experience to say, like, if we don't do this, like, come on, So we were like, we're going for it. And currently we're serving 50 children that already have sponsors, but we do have children on a waiting list. They are dying to start training, but we're just growing the program slowly, and we're serving 2 separate communities. So the kids are getting their uniform, they're getting their training, they're getting their leadership classes, and we have a lot of black belts that have seen what's been done, and they want to service other communities as well. So we're just waiting on more sponsors to be able to open in more communities.
Yeah.
I love it. And I think just you telling that story, I think that's like such a good confirmation that you are following God's plan. Like when something like that happens to me, it's never coincidence. It's like, no, this was engineered and designed to happen. And it's like, it's just confirmation you're going in the right direction with what you're doing.
There's no way we could have planned it.
Exactly.
It's literally just, walking that path. Like we really feel guided in that sense, that we've seen that provision, and we can't take credit for any of it. It's like 100%. This is
it's God's project. We're just the project manager.
Right.
That's what I say.
Love that. And once someone sponsors a student in the Dominican Republic, what is that experience like for both? I know you talked about the child side of it, but the sponsor side, is there any interaction that happens along the way?
They'll get it. They get a picture of their child, and they also do get letters from their child, knowing what's happening in their lives. And then the sponsor also has the opportunity to write back. And we do, especially now with the connection of social media, one of the things we're exploring is the opportunity to maybe create some places where maybe on a Facebook group where they can. So we're just still exploring
one cool
how
thing
to
that we started doing. I don't know if you've played around with it yet. Is using the AI dubbing for language. For a translation.
Oh no, I haven't.
It works really, really well.
It's scary.
It's kind of scary, but there's an app. I can't remember the name of it right now. But what idea is, because obviously these kids speak Spanish, some of the sponsors only speak English.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to record the kids speaking in Spanish because they can express themselves better, use the AI, dub it to English, and be able to send it to the sponsor. Them like thanking them or talking about their progress and everything like that, and vice versa, right? So if the sponsor doesn't speak Spanish, they can record a video in English encouraging their student, and will use AI to dub it into Spanish so that the student can actually receive it and see the face of their sponsor. Mm-hmm. It's just awesome, like connection, right? When you have that, it's so much more powerful than even the letters, right? The letters are great and everything, but seeing the face of your sponsor saying, hey, I'm encouraging them. I'm glad you're taking martial arts classes. Keep moving forward. We believe in you. And that child receiving that is so powerful. And equally, it brings, tears of joy to everybody's face when they receive those videos. We've been able to do it now with people who are Spanish speakers already. Obviously, that was easy. They could send the video. So we've seen that impact already. That's where I was like, oh man, we have to do this where English speakers can also receive that power, because we have like sponsors, for example, just like sponsor somebody who has their same name. They'll see like the waiting list, and it's I want to, because their name is Alan too. I want to sponsor. And then they get this video from like their little Alan expressing themselves on how thankful they are for having this opportunity and everything that they're learning. It's amazing.
Yeah, and one of our parents actually in one of our schools, the kid did not want to do martial arts anymore. We've all been through that. Oh, they're not interested. They want to do other sports. But when they started sponsoring, they're like, nope, you are going. We are not going to let this child down. So this is such a powerful retention tool, because you are partnering your training with somebody else's training. So I'm like, I'm training, but I'm also helping somebody else train. So our parents are loving that, and the updates and being able to see what's happening. And, we didn't do it. It wasn't like, hey, let's do this for retention. Like, who sits there and thinks of that?
Yeah. Also, romance. People come in, they see the projects that we're doing, what you're working on. And it's like, real recognizes real, right? So they see, they say, wow, you guys are, doing these things. I see it, and they want to be part of that. So it's not like we're not doing it to try to convince them, like, hey, come in and enroll because we like to help kids. But they see that. They see where your heart is. And I believe that by far, almost every single martial artist that I spoke to has that heart to help out. That's why they do martial arts. That's why they want to teach. So this really just makes it easy for them to do it. It's like, hey, you sign up as a partner. We send posters to your school. We send all the pamphlets, all the information, set up a little website, and all you have to do is promote it to your parents. All of a sudden, you're getting kids sponsored in the Dominican Republic to do this. So we're just looking for people to partner with us to help promote it.
Yeah, and we're 501c3. So all donations are tax deductible, and you can find more information at heartofzentai.org.
Yes.
What I kept picturing as you guys were talking about this, obviously I have 3 boys, and I just know, especially my middle one, with a sponsor child that also does martial arts, he's gonna come home and be like, I need to send them a video of what I just learned. Like I need to show this to them. And I just think that's like, I just keep thinking of that like worldwide, like you get more people involved that are in martial arts and they're just like communicating via martial arts almost back and forth and having this common connection.
All right. Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, so I absolutely love that. And for schools that are listening to this and like, man, that sounds awesome because I don't have to do the work to create a 501c3 then, which is a crazy process, as you guys were telling me before. How do they actually go about partnering with you guys? Is there a website they go to or do they reach out to you?
Yeah, so they can reach out to us if they want to talk more about it, but they can visit the website heart, like your heart of Zentai, ZENTAI.org.
Yeah.
And the information there to sign up is all there.
You can enroll right away, right on the website.
Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes too. So that way, if anyone wants to go to the notes and click on it, they absolutely can. Just before we end, a couple of quick questions I just want to throw out that I throw out a lot of people on the podcast. First of all, if you guys had to start a martial arts school from scratch, or you started all of Zentai over from scratch, knowing everything you know now, what are some things that you guys would have done differently?
That's a good question.
I thought
if there
about
are any, because you guys have success.
I said, hire Kelly first, right? Like, I honestly did not, and I didn't see the value in hiring a coach because at that moment, right, you have a very limited budget. So thinking of a coach, and like, no one's paying me for saying this. I just want people to know that. But I was so overwhelmed because I also homeschool my kids. I'm in government, I'm a councilwoman, and I'm running all the things that I was doing. So when I look at that version of myself, I said, if I had a coach that I could have talked to and they say, hey, here are some systems that have worked for us before. Yes, it helped in the sense that we got the creativity and we got to do things our own way. But at the same time, there were things I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I think that was powerful, but also creating systems and checklists. It made it easier to start hiring people and to trust to hire people once I did that. So that's probably something I would do from the beginning, like record exactly what you do, step by step, create the systems, create the checklist, and that way it's easier to delegate and to hire out.
I love that answer.
I would say hire a bookkeeper. I think everyone kind of hires an accountant because everybody knows they need to do taxes, right? Sometimes the accountant does bookkeeping, sometimes they don't. But having someone specifically doing your books and staying on top of that, I think is something that if I could go back, I would have loved to have done from the beginning. I think that's important. And they're so inexpensive now. You can even hire on Upwork and find someone that's going to do some bookkeeping for you. There's plenty of companies, CPA firms that also offer bookkeepers. So, find out the different options and start with that from the beginning. I think will save you a lot.
Yeah, I think that's so important. That's something I wish I did when I first started as well. Because I remember when I found out you're supposed to do that, I downloaded QuickBooks and I was like, what the hell am I doing? And keeping up with all the transactions and learning to read a P&L. I didn't know that when I first started a business. So I think that's right on. On the Kelly side, it was funny. Someone posted the other day, they're like, what's the number one skill that's made you successful as an entrepreneur? And I put my COO. I was like, Kelly is the most important reason why yes. So good call on that one. Also just curious, who are some people that you guys follow, read, listen to that you feel has just sort of helped you guys on your personal development journey?
Yeah, well, I always say the two most influential people in terms of my mindset it's Jesus and then Tony Robbins, right? That's kind of how I put it in that mindset. And I think, obviously our faith, we are faith-based and we are unapologetically so. Our business is not a faith-based business, but I think that understanding, our faith leads our values and leads the way we do business. So that has been the most powerful thing for us. For me individually, and I do believe in the power of it's the psychology of the business owner that determines how the business is going to work. So the teachings of Tony Robbins, we've been able to incorporate not only that, but we've been able to bring our team to some of the programs and they love it. And I love when now we have 14-year-olds like getting in state and learning how to manage your emotions, and emotional intelligence is so powerful. And I do love also the work of John Maxwell. I feel like every time I'm listening,
I love John Maxwell.
Taking a million notes, it's like everything is it's a mind-blowing, powerful thing. So those are probably my top three.
Yeah.
Well, and Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey in terms of financial.
Yep.
Well, I have none now because she's taken like all of the same thing. So, definitely I think, Tony Robbins, John Maxwell, Dave Ramsey are people that we follow a lot. And a lot of the John Maxwell servant leadership style is very much embedded into our culture and how we lead and how we do things. Dave Ramsey with his, behavioral approach to managing finances, I think is very key. And he runs also really good conferences called Entre Leadership, which is really cool. You could do it on Zoom. Great information there. So for business management.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sent Kelly to that, I think, last year.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to make it in person, but we'd love to. Yeah. But we're always consuming a lot of information. I think it's powerful to just be open to coaching, to learning, and especially at the time of the internet where you could just put in on YouTube, like, give me morning motivation, or like, it's just, there's so much. And surprisingly though, okay, I'm just going to share this person though, Steve Harvey has been incredibly, like, I did not even know he was so inspirational.
He's smart.
Because it's through humor. And I think we don't laugh enough when it comes to running a business.
Agreed.
For somebody like me, who I am type A, and I'm just like on mission mode, I was really pleasantly surprised by seeing like the learning of like, just to be able to learn these things and laugh a little bit. Yeah. That has been life-changing for me too, in terms of the mood.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? We were just talking with one of my team members the other day about what's one of our beliefs that we have to change. And he was just like, man, he goes, I need to show that I'm joyful more. He's like, I'm just so like focused and in the zone that he goes, I feel like I have to force showing that I'm happy or joyful sometimes. And he goes, I am. He's like, I'm just like, I don't show it enough. And I think that's true with a lot of entrepreneurs. So I love that you brought that up. On the faith side of things, a lot
of the cool thing about, victim mentality of thing, like, oh, it's Monday, thank God it's Friday, and it's always so. If someone's actually enjoying their job and happy and like, it's sometimes really awkward. It's like, oh, I had a great day, because so many people possibly around you are like not having a great day or in that negative mindset that you don't want to be like almost comes across like boastful or prideful, like, oh, well, lucky you're having a great day. And really, we should share that more, right? We should hear, hey, I love my job. I love the day. I had an awesome day, and I'm happy and I'm joyful. And I think that will then be contagious in that regard. But I think that's a possible, at least one of the reasons for that you might experience that. Because I know I've seen that.
Makes sense.
I'm like in a really good mood, and everyone's like, okay, I kind of almost feel bad saying like, I'm happy, I'm doing well, and it's like everybody else is like, well, good for you. So
they may feel like they're showing off in a sense when they're not trying to. They're just like, no, this is just me, dude. Like, I'm happy. I'm sorry.
You're just looking for what's right. Because like Tony Robbins teaches, right, what's wrong, it's always available, but so it's what's right. So it's really about starting from that place of gratitude and what you're focusing on and creating. And that's why I say those are the teachings that have really impacted me the most, because as problem solvers and, business building, we're focused on what's wrong. That's what we do. We look at it and we fix it. But sometimes we gravitate towards what's wrong and we stay stuck in the gap and we don't notice, we don't acknowledge what's great. So that has been a big lesson for us.
Yes, same. I've had to learn that over the years as well. I used to be the guy that would come in and be like, why aren't the wave masters all facing the right way on the mat? And that's like the first thing my mind would go to when I went in the door, and I would just walk past people and not even say hi and be like, what's up with the wave masters? So I feel that 100%. On the faith part that you mentioned, I love what you said, because I was talking to one of my mentors not too long ago, and we were talking about how both of us sort of fell into this trap of like really just operating all the decisions in the business from a business mindset and not from like the spirit. And once you start running your business, if you are someone of faith listening to this, when you start running it and you start doing the decision making from more of the spirit side, like, we're not ignoring the numbers or something. It's not like magic. there's a different wisdom that comes with your decision making in the business, and you start looking at from more of like just like leading with love perspective in those conversations that you're having with people. And it's crazy because until you actually sort of feel like you're leading that way, you don't realize the difference in the two. And I think that's awesome. I think that's a great reason why your passion just exuberates off of you guys. Every time I've seen you at event, everywhere, you guys are always smiling. I can feel your passion when you speak, and it's almost like your heart's just directly talking to my heart. And I think that is a lot because of your guys' faith, and also just you guys being amazing people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, right at you, Adam. We have so much respect for you, and we appreciate so much the support that we've received through the mastermind, but just even before we were part of it, just so much value that you pour into the industry and the team of Avengers you put together. For us, it's just like there's so much power in that, but it's more that vulnerability that you lead with, and I appreciate it so much. So thank you for giving.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. I know you guys are busy. You're running all these things. My last question. You guys have so much going on. How do you manage the time and stay efficient and productive without feeling just like completely overwhelmed by all the different things you guys have going on?
I think we're both very picky about our time, and we've learned to be unapologetic in that sense. In a sense, when you say yes to one thing, Naomi always says this, right? When you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else, right?
Yep.
So being very keen on that, and then giving yourself permission to say no. I can't do this. And there's a lot that we say no to, right? There's just a lot that we say no. So being able to do that from everything from when we first started having the multi-locations, my team would try to pull me in for classes. Hey, we're short here. We need you to No, I'm not available for teaching classes. You need to figure it out, right? And then they figured it out, and they learned, and then that grew. And someone needs to speak with you on the phone. I'm not available today. I could speak with them maybe next week. I'll schedule something out. So giving yourself that permission, and giving yourself that permission, even if it's to have downtime. So especially now, for example, with the farm, we go down there all the time, and sometimes we're down there and we're turning off the phone, and it's like, hey, we really need you to hop on this call and do this. And it's like, oh, I can't. I'm busy. What am I busy with? I'm feeding the goats.
Yes.
Or, I'm hanging out, walking the pastures with some, 2 goats following me around. And that is very important time, because that's important for my mental sanity, right? To stay there. So allowing yourself that downtime, that rest, and scheduling that out and saying, this is very important, and I'm going to do this. I'm saying yes to this. Therefore, I'm saying no to other things. Not to say that those other things aren't important, but this is what I'm doing right now, right? So I think that is very, very key. So when we do that, if it's on the weekends, if it's at night, anytime we have date night, our phones are off. We're not answering questions. Even if something comes up, we're not. We're saying no to that, and we'll figure out putting out the fire later.
And on the practical side, I think something that powerful I learned from Kelly is the exercise of asking yourself, how do you want to feel at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month? And then I go on to at the end of my life. What are the 3 things? Because we might say, I want to feel all these, 3 consistent things. And then something I've learned also is that a lot of times we make it very easy to feel bad and really hard to feel good, right? So it's like, all these 15 things must happen for me to feel like I had a great day. But the moment that one thing goes wrong, I spilled my coffee, it's a bad day, right? So I went into it and said, okay, I want to feel a certain way. What things must happen for me to consistently feel that? So I want to feel like I was present for my children, especially when I live the life that I lived. So I committed to 1 meal a day. I can't realistically cook every single meal, but as long as I provided them with a 1 meal a day, they're teenagers. So, then everything will fine for themselves. I feel like I was there. I want to feel healthy at the end of the day. As long as I did these specific things that support me feeling healthy, then I do those things. And then time blocking, right? Being able to put those things in the time block. So that's important in terms of what I'm doing. So that ability to identify what you want to feel and identify what isn't consistent with that, it makes it a lot easier to say no to certain things. Like I can't make it to everything. I mean, I was that person that I did 11 events, especially because
So I don't think we've mentioned that she's an elected official. So she's the mayor in our county. So I don't think out of all the things that we mentioned, hasn't mentioned
Superwoman.
I have to be very picky with what I say no to because I did 11 events, and I've had to learn to ask people, if you need me there, how long do you need me there for, and what would be the best time for me to arrive? So it might come across for some people as, oh, wow, who does she think? I don't have 4 hours for a baby shower. I'm sorry, but when are the pictures and when are the gifts? And I'll be there for that because I want to feel like I was there present for you. But it's important that and you give permission. And look, eventually people stop inviting you to things. That's also okay.
Right, that's fine too, yes.
You have to be fine with that because unfortunately, if you say, whenever you're saying yes to something, then you're saying no to something else. And then we feel like a chicken without a head, just running around in the rat race. And at the end of the day, you don't feel like you accomplished what you wanted to do. So that's how I've been able to, I say yes to government. I say yes to my life. I say yes to my spiritual life, my family, but I plug it into my calendar and we delegate a lot. My first question is, who isn't doing something right now? Who can I give?
How?
Right.
So that way we can focus on the big love projects that we have, like talking to you right now.
And I love that you guys mentioned the power to say no to things because I think that is an underrated skill that helps you to get to the next level. I know Tim Grover teaches to have a no list on your phone, and it's all the things that you will say no to. So like I was terrible. I would say yes to everything all the time, create that list. And now if there's a decision that I'm not sure about, I just pull out the list and go through it. I'm like, oh, well, that's a no. Like it's not going to happen. And then it's unapologetic. Like you guys were saying, it's like, no, in order for me to feel the way I want to feel and to get to where I want to be in life and serve the people that I need to serve, I have to be unapologetic about saying no because I'm letting down some other aspect of my life every time I say yes if it's not aligned with the right vision and values and purpose. So absolutely love that. Guys, thank you so much for just dropping loads of knowledge in this podcast. I know everyone's going to get a lot out of this. Guys, please go support Heart of Zentai. It is a magical thing they're doing, and we get to pretty much evangelize martial arts in a way and get it to more kids and just help kids all over the world have the same change in life that we had from martial arts. So thank you guys for doing that.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you guys so much.
Our pleasure. I appreciate you guys. See everyone on the next episode.
We're unstoppable, to the top, we about to go. That CEO, I need to know the impact we about to grow. Competition comical, straight A1, we on the road. Money focus for the goal, tell them what they need to know. We unstoppable.